The Democrats now cross the Rubicon. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, I touched on it yesterday in the third and the fourth hour, but this story has exploded is not the word. It is now volcanic. It has gone everywhere, not just across the country, but across the world. So, as you know, in the wake of the second assassination attempt against Donald J. Trump, the Democrats, the media, the Harris-Biden regime are now essentially doubling down. They are coming out and saying Trump is a threat to democracy, period, full stop. And if this incites unstable people, especially unstable liberals or progressives, to try to assassinate and murder him, well, as many in the media, as many Democrats, as many within the Biden-Harris camp are saying, he has only himself to blame. So, we are now at the stage whereby the Democrats are openly embracing inciting political assassinations. But now, as I said on X last night, we are now entering the next stage of the communist revolution. And this was introduced by the Hildebeest, Hillary Rotten Clinton. The day after, literally, the day after Trump again was nearly killed by a whack job progressive assassin, Ryan Ruth, Hillary Clinton went on her favorite channel, MS Left BC. And you want to talk about conspiracy theory TV? That is nothing but conspiracy theory TV. And she went on with her favorite host, the arch conspiracy theorist herself, Rachel Maddow. And she told Rachel Maddow clearly and unambiguously, openly, Donald Trump presents more of a threat to our country, to our democracy, to our freedoms than ever. He is dangerous, her words, and he must be stopped at all costs. The signal could not be clearer. Wink, wink, wink. Somebody put a bullet in his head. But then she went even farther. And this is now, as I said on X, the next stage of communism. Hillary Clinton and now the Democrats are going from just calling or openly embracing the possibility of murdering their political opponent. First, they tried to impeach him on nothing. Then they tried to take him off the ballot in Colorado and Maine on nothing. Then they tried to bankrupt him through lawfare. Then they tried to imprison him through lawfare. And when jailing him didn't work, when bankrupting didn't work, when persecuting him didn't work, they went to the ultimate plan B, which was an assassination attempt. In fact, 2 assassination attempts. But now they're moving from the candidate, the political opponent itself, which always happens under Marxist parties or Marxist regimes. And they start going after that opponent's supporters, his voters, his base. And in particular, as George Orwell warned repeatedly, they go after the intellectuals, the intelligentsia, as they're called, public intellectuals, commentators, talk show hosts, radio hosts. So Hillary Clinton 2 days ago, on MS Left BC, made it very, very clear. The media now must become an ironclad propaganda media. You must relentlessly demonize and defame Donald Trump. You must not allow any dissent whatsoever. Roll cut 19A, Mike.
I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. The late, great journalist Harry Evans one time said that, journalists should, really try to achieve objectivity. And by that, he said, I mean, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump, his demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it. They were merciless about what they saw as President Biden's, problems in the debate and calling for him to withdraw. I believe Donald Trump has disqualified himself over and over and over again to be a presidential candidate, let alone a president.
I'm telling you, want to talk about a bitter witch. A hate-filled, bitter little witch. Okay, that's what she is. So she's now telling the media, you got to be even more of a propaganda media. There can be no dissent. You have to hammer him and hammer him and hammer him and hammer him and hammer him. Period. You don't stop. And then she said this, and this is the bombshell. I want you to listen very carefully. I never thought I would hear this in the United States of America. Ever. Ever. You heard this in Bolshevik Russia. You heard this in Mao's China. You heard this in Venezuela, in Cuba, in Marxist communist regimes all over the world. She now comes out and says, we also have to go against his quote-unquote propagandists. Who are the propagandists? Well, they define who the propagandists are. And according to them, propaganda is mouthing quote-unquote Russian talking points. And what are Russian talking points? Well, for example, me. If you believe the war in Ukraine should be winded down for the sake of peace, because now 1 million people, it's official now, they've hit the 1 million mark. 1 million people in Ukraine have either been killed or wounded in this pointless, endless war. The slaughter goes on. But because I want a negotiated peace settlement, I am now a stooge of Russia. And so according now to, and by the way, that goes for Tucker Carlson, that goes for Jesse Waters, that goes for Laura Ingraham, I could Mark Levin, I could go on and on and on and on and on. Listen to her now say, if you start espousing what we deem as quote unquote pro-MAGA propaganda, i.e. you defend Trump, you should face civil charges, i.e. we're going to bankrupt you with fines, or yes, we're going to start to jail and imprison Trump supporters, and especially MAGA voices in the media. And the whole time, Rachel Madcow is nodding up and down in agreement. Roll cut 19B, Mike.
I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda, and whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence, because the Russians are unlikely, except in a very few cases, to ever stand trial in the United States. They're not going to be going to a country where they can be extradited or even returning to the United States unless they are very foolish. So I think we need to uncover all of the connections and make it very clear that you can vote however you want, but we are not going to let adversaries, whether it is Russia, China, Iran, or anybody else, basically try to influence Americans as to how we should vote in picking our leaders.
You disgusting totalitarian witch. Look, they've now gone full totalitarian. That's the meaning of, this is a watershed. Mark my words. This is a cultural, political watershed. So let me get this straight now. You're now spreading Russian misinformation, Russian disinformation, or now it's Chinese misinformation or disinformation, misinformation or disinformation. If you defend Donald Trump, are you out of your mind, lady? Now, first of all, let me just say the obvious, okay? Just state the obvious. Whatever happened? And I remember this saying growing up. My God, it was the central tenet of liberalism. I disagree with every word that you say, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it. Those days are gone. I mean, my friends, they are. My God, are they gone. Now, it's you say anything that can be perceived as patriotic, anti-globalist, anti-establishment, anti-regime, anti-democrat. And you know what? We're going to put you in the clink. Now, they can't put all 80, 85, 90 million MAGA supporters. They can't. There's too many. So what she's now saying is, go after the intellectuals. Go after the social media influencers. Go after radio talk show hosts. Go after commentators, bloggers, columnists, people on TV, people who have a lot of influence and defend Donald Trump, because it is now illegal, according to her, to protect and defend Donald Trump. They've now gone from trying to imprison, jail, and assassinate Trump to now persecuting, jailing, and imprisoning his supporters. You can't put this genie now back in the bottle. And so my question to you, have the Democrats now become the party of totalitarian one-party rule? And are the Democrats now the real enemy of democracy? Okay, the Democrats now are on the warpath. 6:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull, baby. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Hillary Clinton now, and frankly, the Democratic Party in general, has now gone, there's no other way to say it, full totalitarian. She went on Rachel Maddow on MS Left BC, rabid Trump haters, and said it's now more than putting Trump in jail. It's about more than even assassinating Trump. Now we have to start putting major media voices that defend and support him, his supporters, either find them civilly on the grounds that they're peddling Russian propaganda, or literally lock them up. Now, this is the same woman who invented the P dossier. You remember that? That outrageous dossier from Christopher Steele that Trump was having, let's put it this way, pee showers with prostitutes at a hotel in Moscow. And that came straight from her and her campaign in 2016. And it turned out to be 1,000% garbage. Garbage. This is the same woman who lied and fabricated the Russia collusion hoax. Completely made it up out of whole cloth. Literally just made it up to frame Donald Trump, to lie about Donald Trump, and to spy on Donald Trump, and ultimately to destroy Donald Trump. No one has pushed more propaganda than she has. No one has pushed more misinformatio, disinformatio, more than she has. And she's going on about we're going to decide who goes to jail and who doesn't go to jail? In the United States of America? Are you kidding me? Now, you want to see how evil and poisonous and vile this woman is? She's a communist thug. She's an out-and-out communist thug. I'm telling you. Listen to her. This is not even NBC now. This is CBS. So, she's on CBS. And now well, what about all this Democratic lawfare against Trump? These bogus manufactured cases against him. Desperately twisting, manipulating the law, weaponizing the Department of Justice, our legal system, to put this guy behind bars so he can't run in 2024, which is what they do in authoritarian police states. Listen, she lets the cat out of the bag. This is all payback. You denied me my rightful victory in 2016, and now we're going to bury you. Roll cut 19, Mike.
I got tears in my eyes then, because this man has escaped accountability his entire life. The case, which was mistakenly called a hush money case, was an election interference case. Why did he do what he did? He did it to try to keep the information from the American public so that they wouldn't turn away from him and vote for me. So it's a pretty clear case of election interference.
And when you heard that he had been convicted, there had to be, you're human, there had to be a side of you after enduring months of hearing lock her up, thinking,
right.
This is the person who's actually facing time in jail.
Looks like karma to me.
Looks like karma to me, huh? You know what they say, payback's a B, baby. I mean, you can tell she's never gotten over 2016, that Trump beat her. She can't get it. She can't get over it. She's obsessed with it. You can see it consumes every aspect, every fiber in her being. And so now it's like, yeah, you're going to lock me up? Okay, Donald, we're going to fabricate cases against you and we're going to stick you behind bars. Don't you dare raise your hand against the swamp and the ruling class ever again. We, the Uniparty, we run the swamp. We run this country. Do you understand? Not you. That's the message now they're sending loud and clear. And we're not just going to kill you. And we're not just going to arrest you. And we're not just going to imprison you. But now, all of you other Trump supporters, especially you, hey, Kuhner, hey, Carlson, hey, Levin, hey, all you guys in the media, watch your back. Watch your back. Because don't worry, we'll get you civilly or we'll get you criminally. So, I want to ask you, okay, double-barreled question. I never thought in my life that I would ever be asking this question. I can't believe it. I feel I'm in a nightmare. I'm really, and I'm going to wake up. The alarm's going to ring. I'm like, oh, I got to go. I got a show to do. You know, like I just had a nightmare. No, it's real. Number one, Hillary Clinton. She and the Democrats now say that if they claim you are peddling, quote unquote, Russian talking points or Russian propaganda, that you should be civilly charged for spreading misinformation and disinformation, spreading propaganda on behalf of a foreign regime, and you should even go to jail. Should people go to jail for their political opinions? And in particular, should we now outlaw criticism of the war in Ukraine? And number two, Hillary Clinton. Is this now a watershed for the Democratic Party? Are we now watching something very profound? The full transformation of the Democrats into the Communist Marxist Party of America. All of your calls, I promise, next. 631 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay, just super quick. The lines are full. I want to go right to the phone lines. On a special note, Kuhner Country, a private note. The Kuhner man is feeling very sick. I'm really under the weather. Ava got it from one of her friends at school. Passed it on to Ashton, who passed it on to Grace, who passed it on to me. Anyway, long story short, I got the worst of it, everybody in the family. So, I'm sick. I mean, I'm really sick. My head is very stuffy. I got a high fever, aches, pains. I think it's the flu. Anyway, all of this to say, if you notice, Jeff's voice is raw, scratchy. Jeff seems a little tired today. I'm utterly exhausted. I don't know how I'm doing the show. But I just believe we've got to keep pushing the truth out there and exposing who Kamala Harris and the Democrats are. And again, on a personal note, we've been getting emails, flooded with emails from people not just in Massachusetts or New Hampshire or New England, but literally across the entire country who are undecided voters. And I think the more the libs attack me, the more my profile goes up. So people are like, well, what is he saying that's driving them so crazy? My point just being, a lot of undecided voters have been tuning into the show for the last couple of weeks, and we're swaying them. They're saying, I did not know this. I was not aware of this. You opened my eyes to this. And so, as I said, we're going to win this election voter by voter by voter in state after state after state. So that's why I'm on the air today. I want to try not to miss any shows. I don't care how sick I am. So long story short, I'm going to try to have you, Kuhner Country, do a lot of the talking today. Because I'm going to lose my voice very soon. So anyway, okay, 617-266-6868. Lines are jammed. Vince in Deutschland. Vince in Germany. Thanks for holding, Vince, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Vince.
Remember in 2016, the night of the election, when it was reported that Hillary Clinton went nuts on Donna Brazil and said, "You better fix this, Shiza, or we'll all be hanging from nooses."
Yes.
Okay. Pure projection, because she knows that she will be hanging from a noose when it's all said and done and Trump wins this election. And Jamie Raskin said there will be civil war conditions when they refuse to certify and seat Donald Trump. And first they go after the intellectuals, and then they go after the common man. And I'm telling you, Jeff, there's going to be a civil war in this country. There is. I am certain of it. And I hate to say it, but it's going to come down to that, because they are going to refuse to certify, and they're going to refuse to leave the White House, the Justice Department, the DOD. They're going to refuse to do it. And the only way they're going to be removed is at the point of a gun.
Well, Vince, look, I was thinking this during the break. They're really trying to stoke civil war. I mean, you can tell now. I mean, they're really pushing. This is, look, let's just be objective. And everything you said is completely right, Vince. Please, don't get me wrong. But just stand back, okay? Let's just be objective. This is a two-time failed, but, still a very major presidential candidate, Secretary of State, an icon within the Democratic Party. This is not some crazy fringe, backbench member of Congress, right? We say, well, hey, look, 535 people, you got a couple of wackos in there. For her to come out on the left's premier platform, and that's what MSNBC has become. Their ratings are much higher than CNN or NPR or any of the other, broadcast networks. And with the top host nodding her head completely in approval, we're not just going to kill Trump. We're not just going to wage lawfare. We're going to go now after his supporters. And especially, as you put it, Vince, the intellectuals. We're going to go after them. And then we're going to go after everybody. That's a major escalation. I mean, it just is. Now, and it's also a sign of weakness. Because think about it, Vince. If they had this election stolen in the bag, you don't inflame. It's the last thing you do is this. Why? It's completely unnecessary. In other words, if you were going to steal an election, not that you ever would, Vince, but say you're running for, I know a lot of times you're in Utah. I know you're in Germany now, but say you were running for mayor of Salt Lake. Just humor me, okay, in Utah. And, your people are going to steal it. And they're like, Vince, relax, man. We got this thing in the bag. Okay, don't worry about it. Forget what the polls show. Forget what the media says. We got this thing 6 ways to Sunday. You're not going to be going around saying we're going to lock people up. We're going to put them in jail. We're going to shoot them. We're going to kill them. You're like, why? I'm just inflaming. In fact, I should be doing the opposite. I lay low. I act calm. I pretend like we're winning. I blow up the polls and make it seem that they're bigger than they are. So the fact now, this is full panic mode. They're desperate. The regime now is desperate, and that's why they're dangerous. Exactly to your point. Now, I just want to say this, Vince. I'm going to come right back to you. Rasmussen, which is one of the most accurate polling firms in the country. They're one of the few that for over the last, 10, 12, 15 years has been, I'm not saying they're 100%, but they're one of the most accurate polls at predicting elections. They've now come out with a mother poll. Listen to this. Trump surging. He's surging so much. He's now up 2% nationally. Now, you may say, Jeff, 2% nationally. What the hell is that? That's not much. It's huge. Because remember, Trump's going to lose California by 20, 30 points. Trump's losing Illinois by 20, 30. I think he may make a better run at it in New York than in the past, but still, he's probably going to lose by 10 points in New York. So in these big states, she's going to rack up millions and millions and millions of extra votes that really mean nothing. Because the Electoral College, you win by 1 or you win by 10 million, it's the same number of seats. So if it's a tie in the Electoral College, Trump wins if it's a tie in the national polls, in the national vote, if it's a tie in the national vote, Trump wins the election. A tie, Trump wins. Because that means he's winning the big battleground states. But if he's up 2 in the national polls, then you're looking now, and that's what Rasmussen is saying, an Electoral College landslide. That's why they're in a full-blown panic, Vince. Because now it's going to take a lot of votes to steal this. I mean, now you're talking, it's going to be too obvious. And so I think you're right. Their plan B is, you know what? If we don't win, nobody gets in. And if we have to stoke violence, we will. If we have to declare martial law, we will. See, they're laying the groundwork for saying, no. The Russians are helping Trump win. They're repeating the playbook from 2016. But this time, we're going to start locking not just Trump up, or God forbid, assassinating him. We're going to go after his media enablers and supporters. So I think you're right, Vince. We're in very, very treacherous waters. Final word to you.
Jeff, they control all the levers of power. All their lackeys control the levers of power, and the minions down below are just nodding their heads in unison. And I'm just going to tell you one thing. You know what a morale patch is? A morale patch is a patch. I'm going to tell you what it is. A morale
please, go ahead,
is a patch you wear. It's a patch you wear in your uniform. Sometimes it's comedic. Sometimes it shows support of something. And I'm telling you right now, everybody's running around on their uniforms over here with Ukraine patches, okay? And the only patch you're authorized to wear from another country on a United States military uniform is the American flag. And you see people wearing Ukraine patches. And just a week ago, you had Zelensky and you had Lloyd Austin over here, okay? Pumping up everybody, telling them whatever he's telling them. But they are not going to leave, and they're going to give the orders, dude. They're going to give the orders, and they're going to say, the Russians helped Trump. The Russians stole it. And they're not going to leave, dude. They're going to have to be removed by force. Removed by force, which means you're going to see a division and a split within the military and within the law enforcement community. And it's just a matter of whether people want to put their pension on the line to remove them from power. I am telling you, it's coming to guns and violence. I don't doubt it at all. I will bet you the best state.
Oh, I don't want to take that bet. No, Vince, I don't want to take that bet. Honestly, I don't want to take that bet because I'm not confident in terms of that there won't be violence. I agree with you. Look, we got to pray, fingers crossed, and we got to vote. Let's just take it step by step. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Look, the good news is Kamala's collapsing. Her poll numbers are plummeting. By the way, she was drunk. She did an interview with the National Association of Black Journalists. I'm telling you, either she was on too much cough syrup, or I'm telling you, she was drunk. That was a disaster. It was another massive disaster. So they just can't prop this one up. They just can't. So that's the ace in the hole that we have. And if we swamp him at the polls, maybe we can head off violence. That's my dear hope. Vince, as always, thank you for your courage and for your honesty. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Mark, and this is what he messaged me. And it's a very, very interesting point. Jeff, so basically what Hillary and the Democrats are saying is that if you disagree with someone, especially Democrats, then it's okay to be violent. Whatever happened to having your own opinions without worrying about violence or being criminally charged for free speech or supporting your candidate? Jeff, if they keep pushing, they better be careful because a civil war may be coming. 649 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just to show you, it's not only Hillary Clinton, believe me, who's now pushing for, we're not even talking censorship. We're now going beyond censorship. She wants Trump, obviously, in jail, very likely dead. And she now is saying that his supporters, especially those in the media, who are parroting what she claims are Russian propaganda or Russian talking points, should either be civilly fined to the tune of millions of dollars, in other words, bankrupted, or they should literally go to jail, be jailed or imprisoned for daring to defend Donald Trump. This is what Tim Walz recently said, quote, "There is no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech." Well, who decides what's misinformation? Who decides what's hate speech? According to them, for example, if you believe in a secure border, that's hate speech. If you believe that the Haitian migrants are out of control in Springfield, which they are, that's hate speech and misinformation, both. If you're against the war in Ukraine and you want to end it, then that's hate speech and you're acting as a shill for the Russian government. So basically, if you oppose the democratic regime, you should be locked up, or you should, at a minimum, be censored and banned. Kamala Harris, she has said this repeatedly to this day, quote, "Donald Trump needs to be banned from social media." So she's openly embracing censorship. So this is, as I said yesterday, it's a watershed moment. This is now the next evolution, the next stage of the communist development of the Democratic Party. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Listen now to J.D. Vance in Georgia. And he's saying, you want to know the big difference between conservatives and liberals? At its very heart, it's really very simple. Roll cut 14, Mike.
If you tell the American people that this person is the end of democracy, if you tell the American people that this person needs to be eliminated, most of them, thank God, are going to ignore you, but some crazy person is going to take matters into their own hands and actually listen to the crazy rhetoric that you're putting out there. And I know it's popular on a lot of corners of the left to say that we have a both sides problem. And I'm not going to say we're always perfect. I'm not going to say that conservatives always get things exactly right. But you know the big difference between conservatives and liberals is that no one has tried to kill Kamala Harris in the last couple of months, and two people now have tried to kill Donald Trump in the last couple of months. I'd say that's pretty strong evidence that the left needs to tone down the rhetoric and needs to cut this crap out. Somebody's going to get hurt by it.
Someone's going to get killed. Yeah, he's completely right. He's absolutely right. Look, the left and the Democrats, let's not mince words, are now embracing out and out intolerance and political violence, and which is one of the core tenets of Marxism and communism. And it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse, especially as we get closer and closer to November 5th, and the Democrats see now the presidency slipping away from them. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Tommy in the Philippines. Thanks for holding, Tommy, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, I hope you feel better. All I can tell you is hot tea, lemon, and honey to soothe the sore throat always works for me. But no one's the same. Anyway, I was watching something on YouTube yesterday, and, when Kamala Harris goes on that, what has been unburdened can be undone. I'm paraphrasing the quote. I don't have it exactly, but that goes back to Marxism with Vladimir Lenin, as well as if you look at Chairman Mao with the Cultural Revolution of out with the old ideas, out with old habits, out with the old culture. When I listen to her quote like that, the way I interpret it, at least in my view, is that, well, what happened to we blacks in this country can't be undone, the burden of that. However, in the future, maybe we can put the shoe on the other foot. And I hate to be incendiary, and I don't think most black people feel that way, but she is definitely a Marxist. And her father was an economics professor who was pretty much a Marxist. And everywhere that they've had, whether it be Cambodia, Cuba, China, Russia, anytime these people ever get in power, what do? They purge their societies. And don't think that it cannot happen here. If we go back to 2020 after that election, when Trump lost the election, there were people on NPR and MSNBC and CNN basically saying, well, maybe some of these Trump supporters, we're just going to have to re-educate them. And we all know where that brought people over in Russia. And we certainly know during the Cultural Revolution in China that, 20 million people were purged from the society? Don't think it can't happen here, folks. And you really have to listen when she's very careful about her wording with that phrase, and really think it through. What exactly is she saying? I don't think this is a case of a word salad on this, because I've watched a montage of where she said this probably 20 times, whether it be on the floor of the Senate or at a bunch of journalists. Those words have meaning, and I have to make a confession. My biggest regret is that I ever voted for Barack Obama in 2008. And I'm a union member. I've always voted Democrat prior to Mitt Romney. He was the first Republican I ever voted for. And after Obama got elected, when he made the comment to fundamentally change and transform America as we know it, had I known he had said that previously, maybe during the summer of 2008, I would have said, whoa, what does that mean? What do you mean to fundamentally change and transform America? And we are seeing it now. And now we're seeing a case of where Hillary Clinton, prominent people, are basically saying, hey, you know what? Donald Trump brought this all on himself. And I'm a product of the 70s, and I can remember way back when, if a woman got raped, well, why does she have to dress so provocatively? She brought it on herself. And I remember thinking, well, wait a minute, that doesn't give a man a right to rape a woman wearing a halter top and a miniskirt.
Oh, I so agree with you. I so agree with you. That is a great analogy. Honestly, Tommy, it's a phenomenal analogy. Tommy, as always, thank you very, very much for that call. No, look, I don't want to, bring it back to us, something I said earlier, but just quickly, a lot of undecideds, independents, people are listening to the show now, and they're like, I didn't know Kamala said that. Like, you were talking about Barack Obama, and you're like, I had no idea. Before the election, he said, I want to fundamentally transform the United States. Had I known, I may have voted differently. That's what's starting to happen. So the more we uncover her, the more we unmask her, the more people's eyes are being opened. And they're not buying what she's selling. Believe me. 617-266-6868 is the number. No, look, she's a red diaper doper baby. That's what that's what she is. This is not hyperbole. Her father was a Marxist professor, not kind of or a little, or he's a full-blown Marxist. In fact, he was one of the top economic advisors to the Jamaican government in the 1970s. And he recommended price controls on food, which led to hunger and starvation and chronic food shortages in Jamaica. It was a disaster. So her pushing price controls on food that's daddy. That's straight from her dad. And her mother was also a very secular she was a communist. She was a socialist, Marxist, radical feminist. So, I mean, they made very good money. They were professors. She was raised in a very Tony section of Berkeley. And then, as I said many times, in Montreal, in Westmount, her mother actually had 2 jobs. She taught at McGill and she worked as a researcher, obviously a very talented woman in the sciences, at the Montreal Jewish General, which to me is the best hospital in Montreal. People may disagree, but to me, I think it's the best, or at least it was the best. I haven't been there in a while. So, no, they lived in the most privileged, wealthiest area of Montreal. This is no middle-class kid. This is no working-class kid. That's why she has to lie about working at McDonald's. She never worked at McDonald's. This woman's never done an honest day's work in her life. She has been living off the public teat, off the public trough, her entire career. She's never had an honest job in the private sector. Ever. Ever. And look, in the Senate, she was ranked the most left-wing senator, even to the left of Bolshevik Bernie Sanders. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. And then who did she pick as her running mate? The most radical far-left governor in this country. If anybody could even be more, look, if anybody can be more left-wing than Bernie, it's her. If anybody can be more left-wing than her, it's Tim Walz. He's a Maoist. Who the hell admires Mao? He admires Mao. So she's telling you, in every way she can possibly say it, I am a radical Marxist and I will govern as a radical Marxist. And now you're starting to see, not just the redistributionism and the taxation and the regulation and the government control. Now you're also starting to see the lock them up, persecute them, censor them, jail them, imprison them. Now you're starting to see that at its core, communism, Marxism has to coerce people, silence people, imprison people in order to get its ideas and agenda enacted. And that's why I think this comment by Hillary Clinton on the Rachel Maddow show, huge. Huge. And by the way, no pushback whatsoever from the Democratic Party. None. None. In fact, I'm telling you, the last couple of days, they're pretty much justifying the assassination attempt of Trump. And Ryan Ruth is now being hailed in some liberal quarters as a hero, as a martyr. They're praising the guy. They love the guy. And do you think this is going to stop? Like, just objectively, please, just stand back. What is the price now that someone pays if they try to shoot and kill Donald Trump? Well, I mean, seriously. Ryan Ruth, did you see him yesterday in the courtroom? He's laughing. He's smiling. You're an automatic instant hero. He's now a whether you like it or not, he is now a world historical figure. Everybody knows his name. He's in every newspaper in the world. He's going to go down in history. This loser went from a nobody to now he will go down in history as his name will be there as a man who tried and came close to assassinating Donald Trump. And what's his penalty? Is he getting death? Is he getting the electric chair? No. What is he going to get 20 years in jail? For what? For massive fame and notoriety that he could never imagine? Do you know how many unstable people out there would trade places with him in a heartbeat? Losers, misfits. So the fact that the reaction has been so weak, has been so soft, has been so tepid, guarantees there will be another assassination attempt. And let me just make one last point. There was a brilliant piece in the New York Post. Okay, the New York Post, I got to say, on the Trump assassination now, their coverage has been remarkable. Really good coverage. Now, let me tell you what the photographers at the New York Post are now saying. And Trump's people, I think, are finally getting it. The New York Post is saying, look, the photographers are like, I got to say this, with all due respect, Mr. President. You know, we've been covering you golfing for years. Not just at this West Palm Beach golf club, but the one at Doral, which is about, 70, 75 miles away. He's got other multiple courses. He goes, we stay behind. There's a no trespassing sign. We stay behind it, but we have a clear line of sight. Like, we take very good shots with a clear line of sight. And we don't tell the Secret Service we're there. They don't know who we are. They don't know us from a hole in the wall. And they say, for years, you've been saying to each other that the security here is so lax. Like, instead of a camera, if somebody had a gun, he's 100 yards away or 200 yards away. We can just shoot him right here. It's a layup. Now, they're saying, by the grace of God, news photographers don't want to kill him. But the point is, we can't believe how easy it is to get so close to the president. You know, we obey. There's a fence, and it says no trespassing. We don't trespass. So we stay behind the fence. But there's no security at the perimeter whatsoever. There's no guard dogs whatsoever. Nobody has ever. These are New York Post photographers. They go, no one's ever walked up to us and say, excuse me, what are you doing here? They're like, no. They're watching the president on the golf course. But they go, they don't know who we are. They don't know, are we civilians? Are we just bystanders? Are we professional photographers? Like, they don't know. So the point they were saying is, I don't want to put ideas in people's heads, but they're like, look, you don't know. It's so obvious. It is such a clear line of sight that they were saying, we can't believe this hasn't happened sooner. He's a sitting duck. He's completely exposed because he doesn't have enough security. So you combine this, the lack of security, which is deliberate, and now this guy's a hero. And he's getting a slap on the wrist. And the mystique of the Secret Service is gone. I remember growing up. Look, there's a movie To Live and Die in L.A. It's a very violent movie. It's a great movie about the Secret Service. Clint Eastwood, another one with John Malkovich. Great movie about the Secret Service. Great movie. You know, I mean, a little embellished. Obviously, it's Hollywood, but still. I remember growing up, the mystique of the Secret Service. You don't mess with these guys, man. They're the best of the best. They're the most professional of the professional. They'll take a bullet for the president. But, I mean, they'll shoot you dead on the spot. Like, buddy, don't even give him a dirty look, because they're going to pull their gun on you. Look what they've done to the Secret Service. The DEI, the diversity, equity, inclusion. They got people who are clearly not qualified now protecting Trump. They've lowered the standards. Hell, the first assassination in Butler, this should be a national scandal. Do you know that most of the people that were surrounding Trump after the shots were fired weren't even Secret Service agents? They were Homeland Security agents. They worked for Homeland Security. They're not even trained professional Secret Service. Do you know what they did to get ready for that? They had them watch a 2-hour instructional video. I'm not kidding. I mean, come on, man. So another institution is being corrupted and compromised and hollowed out and ruined because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So you've got no mystique anymore. The Secret Service doesn't scare anybody. I'm sorry, but it's just a fact. You've got the president not having enough Secret Service protection. He's completely now, I mean, he's completely vulnerable. And you kill him, you're a hero. Or even if you try to kill him and you miss, you're still a hero. And you can walk into court yesterday. Look at that, no consequences. He's laughing, he's smiling, he's going to write a bestseller, he's going to give interviews, people are going to do movies about him. He can't believe it. He hit the lottery. He's going to sit in jail and be a star for the rest of it, famous. History books are going to be written about him. This nobody, this nothing, this loser. And it's all done because they want to guarantee a third attempt. And if that fails, a fourth. And if that fails, a fifth. Because they can't beat him. They just can't beat him. 617-266-6868 is the number. Now, everything I just told you right now, I'm telling you is the God's honest truth. Hillary Clinton would get me off the air. They would claim that's hate speech or Russian propaganda or misinformation. That's what they do in totalitarian countries. Truth is verboten, forbidden. Dissent is verboten, it's forgiven, it's forbidden. Opposition, real criticism, is verboten, it's forbidden. The Democrats are no longer Democrats. There's nothing democratic in the true sense of the word anymore. They are a communist authoritarian party. Full stop. Agree, disagree. Larry in Leominster. Thanks for holding, Larry, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Sorry
Larry.
you're feeling a little down in the dumps.
I feel like a truck ran over me, Larry. It's a flu, but I mean, holy mackerel. You want to talk about aches and pains and congestion and scratchy throat and a fever, and I just can't wait to get back to bed, Larry. Really. 10:01 and the Kuhner man's going to go to bed. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead, Larry.
First off, before I get into my points, I want to wish a 77th happy birthday to the United States Air Force.
God bless you.
All right? Now, I want you and your audience to percolate on this phrase. In for a penny, in for a pound. Okay, where am I going with this? Hillary is not just projecting. She's in full-blown panic mode. Because I don't think Ralph, however you say his last name, Ralph, was supposed to live.
Oh, you mean Ruth? Ralph Ruth.
However you pronounce his name.
Yeah, R-U-T-H, yeah, Ruth.
Right. I don't think he was supposed to live. I think that was supposed to be a suicide mission. And they're in a panic because he's still alive and he can talk.
Well, Larry, look, you're in the military, and, you've been around the block. You've been in the Air Force. This, to me, has CIA Patsy written all over it. And Larry, hang on, I'm going to come right back to you, I promise. He apparently served in Ukraine, He was in Ukraine for 6 months. He was recruiting foreign fighters. He was working with the CIA in Ukraine. He wanted to bring Taliban fighters into Ukraine. And how did he get this done? 720 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, coming up at 7:30. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. We've got one of the all-time great poll questions of the day. Believe me, you're going to really like this one. Okay, before I get back to Larry in Leominster, just very, very quickly, Jonathan Turley, as you know, he's a very respected constitutional law professor, Fox News analyst, legal analyst at George Washington University. This is what he wrote on X very, very recently in the wake of Hillary Clinton, calling for Trump supporters, in particular, Trump supporters in the media, to be arrested or fined for daring to defend the president in the name of spreading disinformation. Quote, Clinton's call to arrest people for disinformatio was a crushingly ironic moment, since it was her campaign that funded the infamous Steele dossier and spread false stories of Russian collusion during her presidential campaign. He's completely right. No one spread more disinformation or misinformation than her. And she's the one saying that Trump supporters should be jailed for that? Now? I mean, you want to talk about a Class A hypocrite. And look, all I'm telling you is, keep talking. Because the more they talk, the more people are going to vote for Donald Trump. Larry in Leominster, let's go right back to Larry. Larry, please pick up where you left off.
Okay. The reason I think he was on a suicide mission, I have to tell you a bit of a backstory. I hope you can give me some leeway. My first experience with a gun was when I was in basic training. You have to go through an obstacle course in basic training. You also have to go through M16 training. I was horrible shot. My glasses were way out of prescription. I think I helped the guy next to me get marksman because I kept hitting his target, not my own. Okay? Just for background. After I got out of the Air Force, I befriended an Army sniper instructor, purely by happenstance. He was telling me some stories at a job we were at, and I was kind of thinking, okay, he could be telling the truth. You know, the little BS detector was going off, but I said, okay. Next day he comes to work and he hands me a photo album. It's his death album. He said, Larry, this is graphic. But it was every person he capped during Desert Storm. 8x10 black and white. I'm like, okay, this guy's the real deal. He took me out one day to a gun range, outdoor range. Again, I had crap experience with long rifles. Never dealt with them other than the M16 mishap. Right? Within 10 minutes of instruction, he had me shooting 1 by 1 inch squares 200 yards away.
Wow.
All right? And it was with a sock full of sand is how he taught me how to line up the rifle sights. Crazy as it is. The reason I'm telling you this is he told me something, this was 30 years ago, that always stuck with me. He said, if my shot is within 1,600 yards, it's a waste of a shot for me. Right? Why do you think that is?
I was going to ask you, well, what does he mean by that?
He has to have at least a 1,600-yard head start to get away. Anything less is a waste of a shot to him because he's going to get caught and he's going to be probably tortured and killed.
Oh.
So think about the guy on the roof, Crooks, and this schmuck. They were within 200 yards, 300 yards. There was no getting away. Now, this last guy is a bedwetter. All right, there's another term for it I can't use on the air. Had he started shooting first, he was counting on the confusion of the shots going down range to give him an advantage. Because that Secret Service agent saw him first and started firing at him, he dropped the gun and ran. I don't think he did any combat over in
Ukraine.
Ukraine, thank you, yes.
Yeah, no, that's what they say. They say that he was a bit unstable. He had a big mouth. He liked to recruit people, but he really never saw any action. In other words, he talked a big game, but he didn't do anything.
You can tell because he dropped and ran as soon as gunfire started coming at him. Any combat vet with experience would have stayed on target, because especially with those plates, the way he had them set up, he could have leaned behind him and they wouldn't have gotten a headshot because he's behind the ceramic plate. But I honestly believe that was supposed to be a suicide mission, and now that's why the Democrats are in full panic mode, because this guy's still alive. To top it off, Governor DeSantis comes out and says, I don't trust the same people that are trying to put him in jail to investigate this honestly, so we're going to. This is pure panic. This isn't, because...
Larry, just very quickly, do you think we're looking at another Jack Ruby? In other words, where he ended up killing Lee Harvey Oswald? In other words, do you think, especially with this Sean P. Diddy thing that's broken now, with all the sex trafficking and the sex slaves and Obama's ties to, P. Diddy, and apparently now you got others who are tied to P. Diddy, prominent Democrats, Taylor Swift. You got so many. So if I'm Ryan Ruth, I'm like, you better watch your back, because you could get Epstein. I don't see this guy long for the world, but that's me. Larry, thank you for that call. 7:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
Good morning. Hope you're feeling good today. But anyway, it's amazing. I'd like to say that Hillary did everybody a favor by saying what she's saying. She's actually putting Trump probably, I'd say, at least 8 to 12 points ahead, because all the undecided know about Hillary, how she's been mopping up blood since Whitewater, Benghazi, destroying evidence on 33,000 emails, not to mention all the other things. We can be here probably all day talking about Hillary, but she's just not the person to voice her opinion, how she's going to go after people who want to exercise their First Amendment rights. coming from someone that's so lawful and against all American properties as we know them. So, you know, I think that's a great thing that she come out to get on Kamala Harris's side, and it's unbelievable what's going on. But I really do think, Jeff, that that's a good thing for his things. And I would like to say that I think he should go in the basement till after the election just for safeguard. And do everything on a Megatron, and he could probably have 10 events by a Megatron and all the stadiums and do it all behind closed doors, and you'd have more people involved and be great. What do you say?
Well, Angelo, I mean, look, I want him to take a lot better care of himself, to take more precautions. I agree with you. I think they will try again. And I don't trust his security. I just don't. And so, but he's not going to stop. I mean, that's just Trump. Apparently he was in Michigan last night. He did a nice, really, really good town hall with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas. So, it was a rocking event, and he's going to blitz right through the battleground states. He's not letting up. Look, Angelo, I got to tell you, it's pedal to the metal now, all the way to November 5th. Arizona now looks beyond Kamala's reach. Let me just play a cut. This is Nevada. Nevada now is about to fall to Trump. You had CBS News. This is Adriana Diaz. And this is CBS. And she says, you know, we were in Nevada and we went to restaurant after restaurant after restaurant, and we could only find one Kamala supporter. And we just hit diner after diner, restaurant after restaurant. We found an army of Trump supporters. We couldn't find even barely one, just one Kamala supporter. That's what they looked and they looked and they looked, and they finally got one. Roll cut 24, Mike.
We had so much fun. But what was really incredible is in every single restaurant of the people willing to talk to us, we could only find one Harris supporter in every restaurant. And we left no stone unturned. I approached every single person.
So, I mean, this is the left-wing media saying we can't find anybody who's going to vote for Harris in Nevada. So if Arizona and Nevada falls, which I think it will, and North Carolina now is really starting to trend towards Trump, really at this point, all Trump needs to do is win Pennsylvania, and it's ball game. I mean, it's over. Now, I think he's going to do even better than that, obviously. So that's why they're panicking. And Trump is not going to let up. I mean, Angelo, I hear you. Please don't get me wrong. I want him to watch his back. I want him to be very careful. But he's going to barnstorm Pennsylvania. He's going to barnstorm Georgia. He's going to barnstorm Michigan and Wisconsin. He's not going to leave anything to chance. Anything to chance. He wants to win 350 electoral college votes. You know, you just need 270, but he wants 350. He wants to protect against the steal by running up the score. So, look, get a Pope mobile. You know, remember the Pope, John Paul II, had something like that? A vehicle with bulletproof plates. But however he wants to do it, he's got to be very cognizant of the fact that he is a marked man, and there will be a third assassination attempt. Angelo, thank you very much for that call. And to get to your original point, the more they talk, the more undecideds and swing voters and independent voters that are going to flock and break towards Trump. The more people like Hillary Clinton go on about jailing their political opponents or pressing criminal charges against people who, supposedly spread quote unquote disinformation, what they're revealing is they want a totalitarian police state. And most Americans don't want to live like that. They just don't. It frightens them. It scares them. It's off-putting. It's frankly disgusting and abhorrent. So I agree with you, Angelo. The more the Hildebeest talks, the more Trump's numbers are going to go up. D in Middleborough. Thanks for holding, D, and welcome.
Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, D?
I am fine. I only have a minute because I'm heading into work, but I just want to drop this on you. After the first Trump assassination, the first thing I thought is, why don't they have drone technology? Why don't they have a drone surveilling the perimeter? It wouldn't cost as much as people, and they'd get a wider range of area. The government has plenty of money to spend, obviously, because we're supporting all these illegal immigrants. So why aren't they using the technology?
They want him dead. Really, Dee, I'm being brutally honest with you. They do use some drones. There was, I think, 1 or 2 drones in Butler. I can't speak about what happened in Florida. I don't know if there were drones or not. I don't know. But I do know there were 1 or 2 used in Butler. But that's another point that Republicans in Congress are making. We spend so much money, a gusher of money, on the military. Over $250 billion just on Ukraine. Never mind all the hundreds of billions on all these illegals pouring in. And we can't spend a few $1,000,000 to beef up Trump's security? It's because they want him dead, D. And to show you how crazy and insane it is. Okay, you can look it up. Don't take my word for it. Forget Kamala Harris. She's the vice president. Forget Joe Biden. He's the president. Do you know that the first lady, Dr. Jill, okay, Jill Biden, has infinitely more Secret Service assets and protection than Donald Trump does? The first lady has got drones, security perimeter protection, guard dogs, an army of Secret Service agents protecting her. It's something like 4 or 5 to 1 for her over Trump. So, no, D, look, it's an open secret. Everybody in Washington is saying it. The protection is light. The protection has gaps. The protection has lapses because they want him dead. And they're going around saying, wink, wink, he's a threat to democracy. He's a threat to freedom. He's a threat to America. Look, it's the biggest dog whistle in the world. What they're saying is, somebody kill him, for God's sake. Like, what are you waiting for? And so that's why I've been saying to Trump, get Navy SEALs, get Army Rangers, retired, get Army Green Berets, Special Forces. Look, there's an army of people that are willing to volunteer to protect you. Get them. Just get them. And look, you're a rich guy. Throw in money for a couple of canine units. You know, and we buy the drones. But you're right, D. There should be a lot more protection. There isn't, because they want him twisting in the wind. Final word to you, D.
Well, I think they're despicable.
Well, and that's why I think the country's going to repudiate him. This is really turning the country off. D, the whole country can see what's going on. I mean, the country isn't stupid. People aren't stupid. Okay, maybe once it's a coincidence, maybe. But now twice, it's a pattern. It's a pattern. And again, even after the second attempt, Biden still won't give him more security. So it's pretty obvious. I mean, all that's missing is a neon light, just put it up in the sky. Kill him. Kill him. I mean, that's what it's come down to. D, thank you very much for that call. Have a nice day at work, by the way. Tim in South Dennis. Thanks for holding, Tim. And as always, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm recovering from COVID myself, so I guess the Chinese communists have finally got me. But, yeah, what I wanted to say was, since the founding of this country, I checked into it, 1,354,000 people who have fought for this country have died for it. From the very beginning up till now, because they thought the idea of an American nation was something worth fighting, bleeding, sacrificing, and sometimes making the ultimate sacrifice was worth doing it. If people like Kamala Harris come into the White House, if somehow she snakes her way in there, it's all over. And every single one of them would have done it for nothing. You might as well just go to Arlington or to the cemetery overlooking Omaha Beach and just say, well, thanks for nothing, guys. And I mean, when she stood there after Donald Trump went and laid the wreaths for the 13 killed in Afghanistan.
Tim, can you please hang on? Because you're really on a roll. We're going to pick it up with Tim on the other side. Look, let me ask you. If Kamala wins in November, are we squandering, frittering away, throwing away all of the sacrifices of our fallen? 749 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go right back to Tim in South Dennis. Tim was making the very perceptive point that if an open Marxist, and that's what she is, a radical leftist like Kamala Harris becomes the next president of the United States, really, what was the point of all of the immense heroic sacrifices of all of these great soldiers and warriors who served in the uniform of the United States, going all the way back to our independence? All of it will be frittered and squandered away because she will destroy our country, our freedoms, our Constitution, our very way of life. Tim, please pick up where you left off.
Thanks, Jeff. When Kamala made the point after Donald Trump was invited by the families of the Afghanistan 13 to lay the wreaths at Arlington, and she made the point about him desecrating sacred and hallowed ground, my chin hit the floor. I was like, when the heck has she ever cared about our veterans or Joe Biden or any of them? I mean, look how many are out on the streets while the red carpet's out for illegal immigrants. Nobody's talking about giving veterans $25,000 towards a new house or no interest, no payments for anything. And I'll tell you, my biggest fear is if somehow she sneaks her way in and some of the states, Florida, Texas, take your pick, decide, well, you know what? We're not gonna recognize her. We're out of here. What if you have a situation where you may have, let's say, the 1st Marine Division, the 82nd Airborne, pick your unit, sent in by these people to teach them a lesson. Now they go in, and there's kids in those units from these places, and they might find themselves having to ask, the person I'm up against could be my father, a brother, a cousin, uncle. Am I really going to shoot them just because they want to be free? I mean, I don't think we've been in that situation since 1861. I sure don't want to see it happen again.
Well, Tim, I can tell you this right now. It's not going to happen. It's not. The military, maybe the leadership will, but the rank and file are not going to recognize her. They will not recognize her authority and her legitimacy. And see, that's a problem that they have, is if you keep spitting in the faces of the American people, as she does, and as Biden does, and you keep polarizing, and you keep demonizing, and you keep dividing us, then you're going to lose the heart and soul of the country. And look, they're going down in a massive defeat in November. If they want to try to steal it, they can try to steal it. The American people are not going to buy it this time. They're just not. So they can't sell Kamala. They just can't. This woman is a disgrace. In every way, she's a disgrace. And I'm telling you, I will not recognize her authority. I will not recognize her legitimacy. And let me get to the heart of the matter, Tim. Look, you know how much I love the vets, okay? I love you guys. And I'm not saying this to stroke your ego. I really, God is my witness. The reason why I am able to do my job and be behind the microphone today is because of people like you, Tim, and the sacrifices made by people, veterans and those that came before you. So it's a debt you just can never repay, period. But what we can do and what we must do is stand rock solid for the Bill of Rights, for the Constitution, and for our republic. And on this, we cannot and we must not waver. What she did, and I want to be crystal clear, what she and Biden did in Afghanistan was a humiliation of historic proportions. And you're right. She has no right to talk about sacred or hallowed ground, but doubly doesn't have the right. Because those 13 dead service members are on, their blood is on their hands. They botched that withdrawal. It was a disaster from beginning to end. Trump is 1,000% correct. I've never seen a withdrawal from a country like this, ever. They gave away the store to the Taliban, billions of dollars of our finest military equipment. They gave them Bagram Air Base. They gave them all. They stabbed our partners, our allies there right in the back. And to me, what I will take with me to my grave is they had that ISIS terrorist at the airport in their sights. American snipers had him. And they asked Milley in particular, we've got him, green light, permission to take him out. And the answer from Milley, which came from Kamala and Biden, permission denied. And 13 young men and 13 young women never came home after that. And they don't even have the guts to pay their respects to the Gold Star families. The Gold Star families are the ones who came out and said, we never got a phone call. We never got a letter. My son or my daughter is coming back in a casket draped in the American flag, and that SOB, Joe Biden, is staring at his watch. He can't wait for this thing to get over. Kamala wasn't even at the transfer. She wasn't even there. Say what you want. Yeah, he was disrespectful, but at least he showed up. This one wouldn't even show up. So, no, I'm sorry. Trump was the only one who paid his respects. Trump was the only one who went to lay a wreath. And Trump is the only one, and I believe him, when he says, no one's been held accountable. This is one of the most disastrous withdrawal, if not the most disastrous withdrawal in American history. Who's been fired? Who's been held accountable? Where are the hearings? Where are the investigations? Nothing. It was all swept under the rug. And he vowed to the families, he goes, we are going to get to the bottom of what happened. Because some of the families are saying, my boy came back with bullet holes in him. How could he have bullet holes in him? I thought it was a suicide bomber who blew up his vest with a suicide vest. He just detonated the vest. I have unanswered questions about why my boy is dead. The parents deserve answers. The family deserves answers. They deserve justice and they deserve closure. So, look, this woman is an absolute disgrace. Okay, we all know. She slept her way to the top. Willie Brown laid it out. That's how this woman got to where she is. And I'm going to play some cuts later, Tim. The military's not going to respect her. No one's going to respect her. World leaders are laughing at her. Putin can't believe it. Xi Jinping, the Ayatollahs, I'm telling you, Tim, they're like, have you Americans all gone mad down there? Have you all lost your minds? They're openly, you've got to see the Russian press conference. Don't forget, Jeff, I don't speak Russian. Doesn't matter. Look at Putin's face. When he talks about it, he's endorsing her. He can't believe it. He's giddy. He's giddy. He's mocking her. He's like, I can't believe it. That puppet? That empty suit? Really? That's what the Americans now are going to put up? That's their commander-in-chief? So, Tim, it's a matter of national security. We cannot have her be president of the United States. Period. Full stop. And look, I agree with you. You know, look, elections go my way. I win some, I lose some. That's what it is to live in a constitutional republic, okay? That to me is America. And you try, and it's like anything else. My team loses in football, we try to get them next year. That's life. Or baseball, or pick your sport, whatever. I always say that to Ashton. It's okay. Learn from your mistakes, and we'll get them next year. So it happens. You win elections, you lose elections. But we're not talking about that now. Here. She's drunk. She's drunk. No one else in the media has the guts to say it. I'm going to say it. She goes in front of the National Association of Black Journalists and she's tanked. She's drunk because she's got a drinking problem. And now she's playing with reparations. Like what? You want people at each other's throats? So she's now opening the door to reparations because she's desperate, because the black vote is not breaking for her the way it did for Obama. At the rate the black vote is now, Trump's going to win. So now she's going to play the ultimate race card. So I want you to listen now. And this is the kind of woman that she is. So she's asked point blank, by the way, she can't even answer, are you better off now than you were 3.5 years ago? She can't answer it. So they keep asking the same most basic question, and she can't answer it. It's not hard to find an answer, any answer. She's so incompetent, she can't get an answer. But then she's asked point blank, well, what's your position on reparations? So I want you to think about this now. Slavery ended in 1865. 1865. Over 100 and nearly 160 years ago. And it cost the lives of 600,000 American lives. It took 600,000 Americans to end slavery. And so now you want to force people who never owned slaves, whose parents never owned slaves, whose grandparents never owned slaves, to pay reparations to people who never were slaves, whose parents never were slaves, whose grandparents never were slaves. And you're going to tell me this is not going to lead to a complete breakdown in our country? You want to talk about throwing a racial bomb. That's what this is. This will tear the country apart. But there she is. So, listen now to Kamala Harris. Roll cut 5. This is her in Philadelphia, the National Association of Black Journalists. Roll cut 5, Mike.
First of all, we just need to speak truth about history in spite of the fact that some people would try and erase history and try and teach our children otherwise. We need to speak truth about the generational impact of our history in terms of the generational impact of slavery, the generational impact of redlining, of Jim Crow law. I could go on and on and on. These are facts that have had impact. And we need to speak truth about it. And we need to speak truth about it in a way that is about deriving solutions. And frankly, I think that we, and part of that is studying it to figure out exactly what we need to do.
So she's now dangling reparations now. See, we got to study it. Wink, wink. Get me elected. You want some more freebies? You want some more big checks? Don't worry, we'll hose them down. Now, you want to talk truth? Let's talk truth. You phony, you fraud, you. You want to talk facts? Facts? Let's talk facts. Okay? I never owned slaves. The Kuhners never, in fact, we were slaves. We were serfs under the Ottoman Empire. Okay, but let that go. So, we were basically slaves for 600 years in Europe. Let that go. But your family owned slaves, Kamala. Your family. You. You come from the biggest slave-holding, slave-trading family. They didn't just own them; they traded them on the auction block. What do you want? $5 for this guy? What do you want? $3 for her? Look at those legs. Look at those arms. Look at them. Look at them. That's sturdy stuff there. Well, you can really work that one like a mule. That was her family. Largest slave owners and slave traders in Jamaica. Period. Full stop. So cough up. No. You cut a check. My ancestors, all we did was get, freaking oppressed. All we did was get our asses kicked, if you want to know the truth. It was the Turks, then it was the Nazis, then it was the communists. But believe me, the Kuhners, all we did was take it on the chin. Century after century after century. I got to start cutting a check? For what? For what? So, I did her. No. Your family made money. Your family prospered. You're a very privileged woman. Your whole family's been privileged. And it goes all the way back to owning the biggest slave plantation in Jamaica. So you pony up reparations, you phony, you fraud, you. Now, one more. Roll cut 5A, Mike.
But do you have a position on whether that should happen, this commission should happen through executive order or via Congress?
I think Congress ultimately will have the ability to do this work. I'm not discounting the importance of any executive action, but ultimately Congress. Because if you're going to talk about it in any substantial way, there will be hearings, there will be a level of public education and dialogue that, and I think that was part of the spirit behind the congressional action thus far, to ensure that everyone can participate in this conversation in a way that elevates knowledge about history and the reference points that have that are the impetus of this conversation. Especially again when people are trying to deny history.
Yeah,
when
what about denying your own history?
So-called leaders are saying that enslaved people benefited from slavery. I mean, let's talk about the delta here in terms of the work that needs to be done. It's profound.
Right, yeah. Who said enslaved people benefited from slavery? Who says that? No one says that. But again, let's talk about your history. No, you don't want to talk about your history, huh? You phony, you fraud, you. So this is now what she's promising. This is how radical her presidency is going to be. Price controls on food, not enough. Tax on unrealized capital gains, not enough. $5 trillion tax increase that will wipe out the middle and working class, not enough. Amnesty for every single illegal alien in this country, plus free health care, plus free college, plus free education. Not enough. No. Abolish ICE, not enough. Defund the police, not enough. And another $400 billion into the war in Ukraine. Not enough. No, not enough. So now we're going to have to push reparations now. Which, by the way, would cost this country $10 to $20 trillion. You want to bankrupt us? Bang, right here. So, yeah, we'll have everybody who fought and died for our country have sacrificed for nothing if we elect her or she somehow gets into power? Yeah, you better believe it. You better believe it. There won't be a country left. And she just goes on and says these most outrageous, wild things. Nothing. This is the most bizarre election, I swear, I've ever seen. She should be crucified for this. Whoa. You're pushing reparations? Lady, are you nuts? Again, do you want a civil war? Look, I'm telling you, I'm no tough guy. I never claimed to be a tough guy. I'm not paying reparations. Over my dead body, am I paying reparations? Are you serious? After what my family endured, I'm not paying a penny. Ever. I don't care. You're not getting a dime out of me. So, yeah, Tim, you're completely right. As I like to say, you're 1,000, not 100, you're 1,000% correct.
Well, let's remember...
That's why, Tim, last point, I promise I'll go right back to you. That's why I don't believe these bogus polls. I don't believe them. Who the hell would vote for her? I don't believe them. Unless you have a death wish. Really, unless you're suicidal. Okay, or you're Bill in Sudbury. Like, you have to be really, I'm talking seriously low IQ. Like, hardcore low IQ. Like, dumb. I'm sorry, you have to be just an imbecile. Like, just a complete party hack. A fanatic, a zealot. Outside of that, if you have 2 brain cells, who the hell votes for her? Anyway, we lost Tim, but thank you for that call. And as always, Tim, thank you for your service. 617-266-6868. Sandra in Boston. Thanks for holding, Sandra, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Sandra.
I think the greatest act of disinformation, the most ruthless act of disinformation and election interference, was perpetrated by Antony Blinken, our current Secretary of State. It is well known now that he was the person who orchestrated the use of the CIA in that 51-person letter. It's
you're
shocking.
dead on. Oh, you're dead on. Sandra, you're absolutely dead on.
And he is now in a very important position where he is practically the architect of our foreign policy. And no one has really called him out. And the question everybody should be asking of Kamala is, when did you find out that Antony Blinken was the person who orchestrated that letter? And did you ask him to resign, yes or no? Because we should never be using the CIA to influence a domestic election. It's outrageous.
That's a great point, Sandra. That's an awesome point. Thank you very much for that. That's what I mean. Thank you very much for that call. The only ones that have been pushing this grotesque election interference and misinformation and disinformation is them. And they're saying, oh, we got to start jailing these Republicans. These MAGA Trump supporters, especially in the media, they need to be criminally charged. People in glass houses don't cast stones. People in glass houses shouldn't cast stones, especially coming from these people. 617-266-6868. Mark in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Hi, Mark. Good.
Hey, I'm sorry you're feeling sick. It must be like what Bill feels like every time he rolls over and sees Hillary lying beside him. Listen, so all things being equal, Trump wins, right? I think we all can pretty much believe that that's going to happen. Problem we've got, Jeff, is it's 2 months from when he wins to when they certify. Now, the Democrats are going to be looking for every reason they can to not certify this. So what's going to happen? The day after he's declared the winner, Jeff, every media outlet, every Democrat is going to be taken to the airwaves, telling the 20 million.
Mark, can you please hang on, Mark? I want you to finish your thought. I agree. They're not going to accept the election results. And that's when we start turning election denier on them. Use that phrase against them. 820 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, we're going to go right back to Mark in New Hampshire, but before we do, it is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day. I think is one of our best, frankly, ever. I love this poll question. It's sponsored by Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Who do you think will be the first to see the inside of a jail cell? Hillary keeps saying she wants Trump in prison. She wants Trump supporters, MAGA supporters in jail. So, let me ask you, who do you think will be the first one to see the inside of a jail? A, Hillary Clinton, the Hildebeest. B, Donald J. Trump. My money is on A all the way. And she better be very careful about calling for people to get locked up. If I were her, be very, very careful, Hillary. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER, WRKO.com/Kuhner. You can also vote via X. Kuhnerman's very active on X. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word. Mark, we had to hold you over. We had a hard break. Please pick up where you left off.
All right. So Donald Trump wins. God willing. And if it's a free and fair election, I don't see how he doesn't. But problem is, Jeff, we've got 2 months from when he wins to when they certify the election. The Democrats are going to go all in figuring out how to justify not certifying. So the day after he's declared the winner, you're going to see the media, the propagandists, you're going to see the Democrats start phase one. What's phase one? Appealing to the 20 million military-age men, illegal aliens, and they're going to tell them, they're going to tell them if you value your position here in the United States, if you want to remain, and you want your piece of the American dream, you need to fight back and let MAGA know that you deserve to be here. Rise up. Let them know, Jeff, and you're going to see the illegals are going to take to the streets. They're going to shut down streets. They're going to shut down commerce. They're going to do everything they can to disrupt the United States. But then behind the scenes, you're going to find false flag after false flag. Attacks on Planned Parenthood offices, attacks on Democrat campaign offices, everything that the left finds, their holy grail, the MAGA extremists are going to vandalize. You're going to find that, like, the Supreme Court justices, Sotomayor and the liberal branch, they're going to find their homes vandalized. And what's going to happen, Jeff? When it comes to certify, they're going to say, the Supreme Court says if we let him in, he's got blanket immunity. He can do anything that he wants. We cannot allow this. Look at what's been going on. These MAGA extremists have been attacking everything that we hold dear. And the media, Jeff, is going to run with that for 2 months about how it's MAGA extremists committing all this violence. And you're going to see more 50-plus senators are going to say, we can't allow this to happen. They're going to believe the media. They're going to believe the left. And they're going to turn on President Trump. And they're going to decide that they cannot justify allowing this guy to take office. And they won't certify. And what's going to happen? You're going to have Kamala Harris as the deciding vote, 51. They don't certify, Jeff. Then what? Biden steps down. Harris is interim president while they work through the constitutional crisis, Jeff. And she institutes martial law. She institutes amnesty for 20-plus million illegals. And this country's lost, Jeff. It's over.
Well, Mark, there's a lot of ifs there, and you're laying out a very apocalyptic scenario. I'm not saying it won't happen. I think they're going to have a very hard time. In fact, I think many will not accept the results. I think there's going to be a lot of rioting, a lot of looting, a lot of violence. But what you're describing, Mark, the scenario that you're describing is a dictatorship. That's what that is. They're going to overturn the will of the people, overturn the results of an election, declare martial law, not accept the results, and install themselves in power. And then we'll become just like Venezuela, like Maduro. And the world is going to condemn us. Sanctions will be placed on our government. And, what I'm saying is, if they want to go down that road, they can go down that road, but then they're going to lose everything. So there has to be a point where they say to themselves, look, they undermined Trump for 4 years during his first term. They can undermine him for another term in office. If they really, in other words, some, cooler heads at a certain point have to prevail. Because fine, you can burn the country to the ground, and what are you ruling over then? You're not ruling over anything. And this is why I think their rhetoric now is going to turn around and bite them. Because they have been so hysterical in their predictions. We're talking about mass hysteria. He's the next Hitler. He's going to establish himself as a dictator. He's going to cancel all elections. That when that doesn't happen, their credibility is over. It's finished. 8:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just super quick, because I'm being inundated with texts and calls and messages on Messenger. By the way, you can text us 70470. 70470, and of course the number is always 617-266-6868. We can get into these what-if scenarios and, twist us into a pretzel and drive us crazy. I thought Mike said it very, very well to me during the break. Look, it's all speculation at this point. We got to stick to the facts. And if they don't want to hand over power, say they should lose to Trump, well, then everything they've been saying is a lie. How can they go on saying, we support the peaceful transfer of power, and then deny it to Trump after he wins in November? They'll be exposed as complete and utter hypocrites and frauds. the American people will not stand for it. So the American people will turn against Kamala and the Democrats. And as Mike said, look, again, not to get ahead of ourselves, then you're probably going to have a civil war. Russia and China would jump in. It would be the end of the country. So the regime is evil. There's no question. The regime is reckless. The regime is irresponsible. But they're not suicidal. We're not dealing with Hitler. Let the whole thing just burn to hell. No, I mean, they're going to relinquish power. The communists relinquish power. Eventually, if there's enough people, rising up against the government, they will relinquish. So this is why they're in full panic mode. They don't know what to do now. And they thought that playing the fear-mongering card, the panic porn card, that he's a dictator, he's a threat to democracy, an existential threat to the country, blah, 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 blah. He's the second coming of Hitler. It's not working. Now they got a credibility problem, a credibility crisis. Because that's what I told Grace. I go, look, you don't understand. They've gone all in now on this narrative. All in. All in. Here, let me just play you Don Lemon. Okay, this is, especially in the wake of the second assassination attempt, the country's saying, whoa, 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 whoa. You guys are inciting violence. If you keep going on about how he's a threat to freedom, and he's going to cancel all elections when he wins, and he's a dictator in waiting, you're really inciting, you're egging on unstable liberals to go after him and shoot him and kill him. And instead of saying, oops, they're doubling down. So listen now to Don Black Hole Lemon. Apparently the guy's back at CNN. Like, really, CNN has absolutely no standards. How they can have this journalistic fraud, this out-and-out liar and propagandist, and you take him back? So listen now to Don Black Hole Lemon. Sorry, Lamon, as he likes to call himself. Roll cut 17. Mike.
If Donald Trump wants Kamala Harris and others to stop saying that he is a threat to democracy, then he should stop threatening democracy. Perhaps he shouldn't be trying to overturn elections, overthrow the government, and inciting insurrections if he doesn't want people to be honest about what he is, who he is, and what he's doing.
How does he threaten democracy? They're never pinned on facts and details. How does he threaten democracy? Again, I know you want to go back to January 6th, but he relinquished power, so what's your problem? And by the way, how can it be an insurrection? I mean, I don't want to keep arguing the obvious point here. Everybody that breached the Capitol, nobody had guns. Nobody. Not one person was armed. No shots were fired from the so-called, you're going to call them rioters, whatever, those that breached the Capitol. So, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's insane. But in the end, did he relinquish power? Has Biden not been in power the last 3.5 years? So what's the problem? You had your peaceful transfer of power. So how is he going to impose a dictatorship? They never answer that question. So tell me, what's he going to do? Specifically, what is he going to do that's going to take us down the road to tyranny and Hitlerism? Go ahead. They can't give you an answer. They just repeat it and 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 repeat it. Like a tape, like a broken record, over and over and over and over again. Then what happens on January 20th when Trump is inaugurated? And he's not a dictator. And then I'm telling you what's going to happen. Gas goes down because we're going to drill, baby, drill. And inflation starts to go down. And the economy begins to boom. And then he secures the border. And then he reinstates Remain in Mexico. And now the invasion has stopped. And now, we start deporting millions and millions of violent criminal illegals. Holy mackerel, crime starts to go down. Oh my God, the war in Ukraine is ended. It's a negotiated settlement. Oh my God, there's peace in the Middle East. Oh my God, Iran is contained again. Oh my God, Taiwan is protected and China is contained. It's peace and prosperity. The country's coming back. And then there are midterm elections. And like, but hold on, I thought he was going to cancel elections. But no, there are midterm elections. And there are local elections and state elections and gubernatorial elections. And then his 4 years are over. And at 82 years old, or however he is, he'll then step down and wave and pass the baton off to J.D. Vance. And then we'll have another election. And we'll see who wins. So all of this Chicken Little, the sky is falling, it's Hitler, it's Weimar, it's the second coming of a dictatorship, this is it now, a Holocaust, concentration camps, death camps, millions dead, how do you survive? Your credibility it's gone. It's shot through and through. How do you recover from that? You can't. That's the problem when you play the panic porn, the fear-mongering card. It's like, remember, crying wolf. Stop crying wolf. Because after a while, nobody believes you. And that's their problem now. The regime is in crisis. Now, here, this is why they're going to lose. It's really, honestly, this is not, and they can try to rig it, and they can try to manufacture ballots, and this dog don't hunt. You can't put this one in the White House. You just can't. So, listen now to this. I'm telling you, she's drunk. The woman's drunk as a skunk. So, this is her. I don't know how hard this is. I really don't know. She is asked point blank. This is at the National Association of Black Journalists. And she's asked, again, the same question over and over, which she can't answer. Are we better off today than we were 3.5 years ago? Like, make your case. And I don't want to play everything because she just rambles and rambles. It's the same, by the way, the same talking points. It's her convention speech, and she just keeps rehashing it and rehashing it and rehashing it. But basically it's, we inherited a depression. We inherited the worst pandemic. Oh, my God, democracy was under attack. Oh, what a mess. But hey, listen, man, we created jobs, black jobs in particular, black businesses. Now they know what black jobs are. Now she knows what a black job is. But then she comes back to this. Roll cut 3B, Mike.
Here's my personal experience coming at that. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother was hardworking. She raised me and my sister Maya. She saved up. And it was only by the time I was a teenager that she could afford to actually buy her first home. And I know, and I identify with, I know where I come from.
That's so again, back to the middle, which is a lie. I don't know how many times she can keep lying about this. So again, I'm middle class. Okay. She's not, but just for the sake of argument. How are you going to make things better? Well, I'm middle class. Here's Tim Waltz. Okay? Here's Tiananmen Tim. Same problem. He's now asked in Georgia by a reporter. Well, inflation has gone through the roof the last 3.5 years. So how do you tell ordinary people, how are you going to bring costs down? Listen now to Tampon Tim. Roll cut 4. Mike.
Let's start with inflation. What do you tell people who wake up, frankly, each morning wondering, how am I going to get by financially?
Yeah, I tell them, Kamala Harris and I know something about it, being middle-class folks. Our family sit at the table trying to pay the bill.
That's your answer. That's literally his answer. Well, we're middle-class folks. By the way, again, you're not middle-class, but okay, let that go. So that's it now. Well, we're middle-class. Okay. Well, we're middle-class. So what? How are you going to bring costs down? Hey, buddy, we're middle class. We pay bills just like you. The American people are looking at this. They're like, are you serious? You want us to elect you as the next president and vice president of the United States? That's why she's going down. She's going down. Nobody can save this campaign anymore. 617-266-6868. All of your calls next. 850, my friends. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Let's go to Tom in Melrose. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Jeffrey, thoroughly enjoy your show.
Thank you, Tom.
I wanted to bring up what I think should be the Republicans' standard terminology to describe Biden-Harris. Basically, they should lead in with the foolish and dangerous Biden-Harris administration and then step into whatever policy you want. There's like 10 policies we could go into. So, for instance, on the open border, we could basically say our founders never envisioned that an administration could alter policy that would push down major financial burden to the states like the open border imposed by Biden-Harris. So if you look at Massachusetts, last reported, we're spending $75 million a month for the indigent illegal migrants, and we've already surpassed $1 billion worth of costs.
Oh, I think it's a brilliant argument, Tom. And I've been urging Trump to do that over and over again. Tie Harris to Biden, nonstop. Everything has to be Harris-Biden, Biden-Harris. Just, there's no daylight between them. And you see, this is her problem, Tom. She was asked about, well, is inflation still a problem? And she said, yeah, inflation obviously is still a problem. She has to acknowledge it, right? So, gas prices are too high, food is too high, groceries are too high, rent in particular, are really high, car insurance, energy bills. She goes, but I'm a next generation of leader. That's her shtick now. Well, what do you mean you're the next generation? You've been in power for the last 3.5 years. Who made the mess? You made the mess. Who created this disaster? You and Biden created this disaster. You're not a new anything. You're the old. You're the last 3.5 years. See, and that's her quicksand, Tom. She can't get out of that morass. And that's what they're seeing in Arizona. That's what they're seeing in Nevada. That's what they're seeing in Georgia. That's now Pennsylvania in particular. Trump now is starting to pull ahead in Pennsylvania. So the only battleground state that Kamala may win is Wisconsin. We'll see. Maybe. But Trump keeps making that argument. Kamala is a second Biden term, but even worse, and he wins. She has no counter argument to that seminal fact. Final word to you, Tom.
I believe that most state taxpayers have no idea of the magnitude of the costs that are being pulled away from the educational funding for schools in their respective states, road work, etc. So if New Jersey spent $2 billion, like $5 million, $2 billion like 5 months ago cumulative, New York's probably spent $5 billion so far. I think taxpayers resonate with the fact that money is being funded for this ridiculous program administered by the foolish and dangerous Biden-Harris administration.
Amen. Tom, thank you very much for that call. Look, $1.8 billion in Massachusetts alone, just on the illegals in the last couple of years. $1.8 billion with a B. Do you know how many potholes that fills? You know how many schools that builds? Hospitals? You know how many doctors and nurses that hires? You know how many first responders, police officers? You want safe streets. You want good you want good roads. You want good education. You want good health care. All that money is being squandered on these illegals. So this is what I'm saying. They are destroying our standard of living right in front of our eyes. And that's the reality now is catching up. There's just, look, independents now are breaking 2-3 to 1 in favor of Trump. The undecideds are now breaking 2-3 to 1 in favor of Trump. Because they're looking around and they're like the only people who've done well under Biden-Harris are the billionaire globalist oligarchs and the illegals. That's it. That's it. And of course the sleazy politicians. That goes without saying. That's it. Everybody else, you, me, the working person, we're getting shafted, my friends. Mags in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mags, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeffrey. As always, God bless you, Sandy and Mike, for everything that you do every day.
Thank you.
You know, your poll question, A, for sure. Hillary's going down way before Trump ever thinks about going down. She's going to jail. I can't wait to see the day when they cuff her, honestly. But what I call for, honestly, is I'm really getting tired of listening to all this thing about, democracy, because we're not a democracy. And when we learn how to say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, maybe we should start saying this again. Maybe it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance to be said daily so we know we're not a democracy. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, look, I used to always teach that when I was at McGill. I go, America is very unique. It's not a democracy. For example, Canada is a parliamentary democracy, just to give you an example. No, America is a constitutional republic. And I think the founding fathers brilliantly laid it out. They go, look, we're not, they explicitly went out of their way. They go, we don't, what they called it was mobocracy. They go, democracy leads to mobocracy. And the way they say, here's how they said it, Mags. They go, really, a democracy is that 3 wolves vote to eat the sheep. That's what a democracy is. It's just pure majority rule. And so the majority can decide to do anything. That's a democracy. He goes, we don't want that in America. We want a government of the people, by the people, for the people, that protects everyone's God-given rights. That's the beauty of the Constitution. That's the beauty of the Bill of Rights. It is there to protect our God-given rights against a tyrannical, centralized government. So we're not a democracy. We never have been, and God willing, we never will be. I don't want to live in a democracy. I don't believe in majority rule. I don't believe in the rule of the mob. I don't. I believe in checks and balances. I believe in separation of powers. I believe in the, obviously in all the amendments, but especially the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. We all have freedom of speech, no matter what. We all have freedom of expression, no matter what. Freedom of religion, no matter what. Freedom of the press, no matter what. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. And this is the big difference. I think this is what people are misunderstanding. One of the reasons why the Democrats are going to eventually cave should Trump win. Okay, if they can't kill him, if he makes it across the finish line, and I believe he will, you've got 400 million registered guns in this country. I'm sorry, that's just a fact. And that's what our founding fathers said. You have to have a free citizenry, must be an armed citizenry. And so they know, the powers that be know, if we try to prevent Trump from ever coming to power, the citizenry is armed. We're not going to get away with this. So that's why I revere the Second Amendment. People don't understand. You can't have the First Amendment without the Second Amendment. And I mean, I love all the Bill of Rights, the first 10. But the 10th one, everybody forgets it. I love the 10th Amendment. What is not explicitly delineated to the federal government is either handed over to the states or to you, me, and the people, Mags. So they were about freedom. And this was the only revolution in the history of the world that they fought for the individual rights and individual freedoms of ordinary Americans. That's what was so special and unique about our revolution. So these idiots are trying to remake our society by using words. And that's why they keep saying, he's a threat to democracy, 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 democracy. No, we're not a democracy. We're a republic. And to me, that's the fundamental difference. So, Mags, you're completely right. Look, this is my prediction, Mags. You may agree or disagree. We're looking at 12 years now of MAGA rule. They have so overplayed their hand. This is going to be like Herbert Hoover and the Republicans in 1932. They are going to get wiped out. The Democrats are going to get wiped out. And they're going to be consigned to the political wilderness now for a generation. People are sick of them. And they've become so corrupt and so compromised and so radical and so extreme, frankly, so Marxist and communistic, that they deserve 12 years in political exile. So, look, contrary to most listeners, I am very optimistic about November, and I'm very optimistic about the future. I believe we are now at the gates of victory. What say you, Mags?
Jeff, I am 100% with you. I think that you know that. I believe 100% that Donald J. Trump is going to be our next president. I pray every night, and I always seem to receive a very calming feeling. So I think the Democrats are finished. I think, like CJ said yesterday, there will be a revolution, and many of us will go and protect the United States of America, because I'm a proud member of the United States of America and plan on staying that way for the rest of my life. Donald Trump is going to be our next president, and God bless him, and God bless America.
Thank you so much, Mags. I appreciate it. 617-266-6868. Okay. Joining me now, as she always does at this time, Dr. Grace, putting liberals in their place. Grace Woto. Yes, my wonderful wife, my better half. And did I marry up or did I marry up? Huh? Okay. Grace, I've got to ask you, Rasmussen now has come out with their latest poll. They say Trump is now surging. Nationally, he's up by 2 points. In the battleground states, he is now starting to run away with it in Arizona, in Nevada. Pennsylvania now is starting to look very troublesome for Kamala Harris. Are we now seeing the collapse of the Harris campaign? And is Trump now, we still have, I don't want to count our chickens before they're hatched, but is Trump now on the path to victory?
Well, Jeff, like you said, let's not count those chickens before they hatch, because I also see a lot of alarming signs. There are many other polls that are saying that this race is neck and neck. Now, I know you don't trust those other polls. They're very suspicious polls, but if we consider our analysis going back to March, many of us predicted that a candidate would emerge, and by the time we got to the fall, many polls would say that we are neck and neck, which sets up the really real possibility of a steal. What Harris has done is she's put up a good enough window dressing that the steal could appear plausible. So I am still deeply, deeply alarmed and deeply concerned.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Dr. Grace. I don't see how it can be plausible anymore. She's very superficial. I can play you the cuts again. She can't answer the most basic questions. Are you better off now than you were 3.5 years ago? She can't answer it. I could just go on and on. She has flip-flopped on fracking. She won't explain why she's flip-flopping. She wanted to abolish ICE. Now she's flip-flopped on that. She can't explain it. She's not, issue after issue after issue after issue. Defunding the police, she's now flip-flopped. She can't explain it. So what's happening now is that there's a credibility problem with her, a serious credibility problem. And I don't know if you saw the interview with her in Philadelphia with that local reporter. It was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. Even the reporter said afterwards, I couldn't have asked more fluffy softball questions. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? I'm from a middle-class family. Okay, good for you. Who cares? Well, because, my mother worked hard and my mother came here and my mother sacrificed and, okay, but how are you going to bring down the cost of living? No answer. So if she can't answer the most basic, simplest of questions, and she's now becoming widely perceived as frankly stupid, inept, vacuous, and incompetent, how do you plausibly steal this one?
On her incompetence and her lack of ability to answer a straight question. I have dubbed her Hollow Harris. She is a radical and she is a flip-flopper. She is a shameless opportunist. We could go on and on about all of her flaws. And she has really bombed on those set-piece interviews. She does very poorly. However, how many people saw those? What people did tune in for was the Democratic Convention, where she delivered a really good speech, and they tuned into the debate, where, at least style-wise, she held her own. we can argue about what the impact was after the debate, but during that night, she held her own. So that's where the most eyeballs were on her. And my concern is that sets up enough of that window dressing that we've been discussing. That doesn't mean, though, that we have to be discouraged. It just means it's not in the bag. Keep working. Bring everybody out to vote. We've got to make it too big to rig, expecting that they'll play the dirtiest tricks on us. That's all I'm saying. Always, one of those old adages is assume that you're an underdog in order to win, because then you really go all out, and that's what I want all of us to keep doing. Assume that we're underdogs. Assume that we've got the fight of our life on our hands in order to ensure that victory. It does have to be too big to rig, especially since we don't know how many of those shadow voters are going to come out.
Well, Dr. Grace, look, Kamala Harris now has come out and said that she wants Trump to do another debate. Trump has said, well, we have an agreement. Let's do NBC News, September 25th. For whatever reason, she says, no, we're going to do it in October. And he said, look, you wouldn't do Fox News on September 4th. You did the one on ABC, which was clearly rigged against them. We had another one planned for September 25 on NBC. You won't do the one on NBC. I'm done debating with you. If you're not going to abide by the terms of our agreement, bye-bye, and I'm going to leave. My question to you, should Trump do another debate? Does he need to do another debate? Or is he now in the driver's seat and he should just blitzkrieg, barnstorm all the battleground states up until November 5th?
You know what, at this point, Jeff, I think that he should do the latter, what you said, focus on those battleground states, because what really is at stake in this election is the suffering of the people, the economic suffering. There's a new study out there that says that 3 times a week, about 41% of the American public has brain fog due to stress. They have anxiety symptoms 3 times a week due to especially stress over financial matters. So I think probably at this point his best strategy is to do really what made him win in 2016. It was all that hard work in the battleground states. Let him keep doing that, because that's when he is close to the people that are going to turn out, the people that are suffering economically, and that suffering penetrates all the propaganda that's out there, because there's only so much propaganda that you can wage when somebody can't pay their bills.
Dr. Grace, Sunday was the second assassination attempt on Trump. By the grace of God, a Secret Service agent spotted Ryan Ruth, his rifle, through the fence, shot 4 times, missed him apparently, but Ruth dropped his weapon, got in a getaway car, and was spotted by a witness who took a picture of him, his license plates, his stolen tags, and they eventually caught him. Second assassination attempt. Do you believe it was coincidence? Was this the act of a lone wolf? Or do you believe we have a mole, a leaker, an insider in the deep state, and they are planning to kill Donald Trump?
Jeff, listen, I am so concerned for his safety, and I pray for him every night. After that first assassination attempt in Butler, we realized there have probably been others, and there certainly will be more to come. And here we are at number 2, and I think there are going to be more assassination attempts, because the media has been completely irresponsible in how they have characterized him. They haven't just focused on the policy differences, they have demonized him. And as a result of that, some Democrats and liberals, they see through that as rhetoric, but there's a few crazies that really buy into it. And it's those crazies that are being activated to harm him, as well as, I think it's obvious now, in Butler and both now, in the latest attempt, there's something going on. There's something cynical going on. There's something nefarious going on in terms of how is it possible that anybody could get so close to a former president. So I think that there is, either it's through espionage or through an actual mole, there is a real threat within his campaign that presents a security menace to him. No question about it.
Eric Trump is convinced that they're not going to stop. And he's very emotional about it. I don't blame him. It's his father. He loves his father very much. And he says they're going to try to kill him again. And if they fail, they'll try to kill him a 4th time. And he keeps saying, I don't know how many lives my father has left. And what he said is they will stop at nothing now. They tried to jail him. They tried to persecute him. They tried to impeach him. They tried to bankrupt him. And now this is their ultimate insurance policy. They want to kill him. Do you anticipate a third assassination attempt?
I do. I anticipate a third assassination attempt, even if that would end up being some kind of a mass casualty event, which I said after Butler. I said they do not care, especially if whatever internal polls they're conducting would show that it is going to be too big to rig, then you can expect even greater threats to his life. If they think they can get away with this steal, that actually makes him safe. If they fear that they won't be able to do it, that puts him directly in harm's way. No question about it.
We have been talking with Dr. Grace, putting liberals in their place. Grace Voto, my wonderful wife, better half. Grace, as always, dynamite job, and we'll talk next week. Same time, same place, right here on the Kuhner Report. Have a wonderful day, Dr. Grace. Okay, 617-266-6868 is the number. It's all on the table. Grace says we can't keep our eye off the ball. We've got to remember, act like the underdog so we win in November. Don't act like anything is in the bag because nothing is in the bag. And she says they will definitely try to assassinate Trump one more time. My question to you, do you fear the same thing as well? Are you worried that they'll try a third assassination attempt? 9:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. You know, the thing that amazes me, and I guess at this point I don't know why I'm amazed by anything, but in the wake of the second assassination attempt on Sunday, do you know I have not received a single email or a single message on Messenger or a text message? And we get a lot, and we get a ton. I get a ton of emails, a ton of text messages. I mean, it's an avalanche. And yes, a lot of liberals, they don't want to admit it, but they listen to the show. And, you know, they will weigh in. Not one has condemned the shooting. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Not one has said this is beyond the pale. We need to tone down the temperature. We've got to stop this. We're on a collision course as a country. This just cannot stand anymore. Not one. It's either he had it coming, he deserves it, it's both sides are to blame for extremist rhetoric, like whatever. It's no one has come out and condemned it and said this is wrong. And from the left, from Democrats, progressives, liberals, whatever you want to call them. And to me, their silence is deafening. It tells you everything you need to know. Bob in Raynham. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Bob.
I was hoping to call you last week around 9/11, but, you know, I know you were busy and everything, and couldn't get through. But anyway, I just want to say that we underestimate how evil this regime is. Well, I don't think we do, but I think people in general do. What those terrorists did on 9/11 pales in comparison what this regime has done to this country in the last three and a half years. Also, to pick up on what one of your previous callers said, as far as the Army goes, I think their next move is they're going to give these military-aged invaders, they're going to allow them to enlist in the military, and in the end they will be granted citizenship. And when they enlist in the military, they won't bat an eye to shoot a MAGA person or, you know, anyone that they tell them to shoot, because they have no allegiance to us. They'll have no allegiance to our founding fathers and our fathers, grandfathers, brothers, whatever, that have served in the military. I mean, the evil that is going on is it's mind blowing, and how Trump, even in California and Massachusetts, doesn't have a 20-point lead is beyond me. I mean, this has nothing to do with the two candidates. This election has to do whether we remain the United States of America or whether we don't. And when I say when we don't, we will end up, I think the goal is for us to be North America, including Canada and including Mexico. The states will be like regions of this country of North America, or whatever you want to call it. And our founding fathers will be gone. There'll be no memory of them. They'll be like, old baseball players that once played and are now like, oh yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, my grandfather saw that guy play. And that's all they'll be. And I truly believe that this is the intent of the New World Order, and I think Bob, this is their plan.
Bob, look, you put your finger on it. You really literally put your finger on it. Look, and if it makes anybody feel better, because once I realize we're not alone, there's strength in numbers. And the French conservatives now, the French right has realized it, the Dutch right in the Netherlands, the British right, the Italian right, who's in power now, the Polish right, conservatives all across Europe are sounding the alarm bell exactly to what you're saying. They want to destroy all of those countries' unique national identity, their history, their unique culture, their language, their civilization, and it's part of exactly this globalist New World Order. And they're trying to do it here in the United States by the exact same means. Massive, unlimited illegal third world immigration, open borders, free trade, and multiculturalism and DEI. And they want to wipe Germany off. I mean, not wipe it off the map. I don't mean physically. I mean culturally, nationally, in terms of its civilization. Germany, they want wiped off the map. Italy, they want wiped off the map. France, Great Britain, the great nations of Europe gone. And ultimately, they want to do it to us. And that's why they flooded this country with so many invaders. And you're right. Look, they're buying them. And that's what's going on. Look, think about it. Electorally, it's insane what they're doing. Why would you go out of your way to give free food, $64 a day per illegal, hotels, shelter, computers, healthcare, education to foreigners that you don't even give to your own citizens? The reason is obvious. They are the future, and they want them to replace us. 9:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. I just want to quickly put an exclamation point on that call with Bob in Raynham. So yesterday I was at the eye doctor's office, not for me, but for the Munchkins, the kids. Ava more than Ashton. They're both getting their glasses, but Ava had an eye exam. And one of the ladies that works there, very nice, was just talking to me about politics, and she's a Trump supporter. And she said what she finds just incredible is out of the blue. She goes, we're just sitting there minding our own business. And you will see people walk in. These are customers that go back 5, 10, 12, 15 years. And they just start exploding at Donald Trump. And no one's even talked politics. No one's mentioned the election. No one mentioned his name. They'll just walk in and see something on their phone. And they'll blow a gasket. And they'll go on this insane rant. He's a dictator. He's Hitler. He's going to cancel all elections. He's going to put us all in camps. She said, I've never seen this kind of these were her words, not mine. This kind of brainwashing. It's like a cult. That it's almost like a response. An automatic, trained response. You just indoctrinate and fearmonger and fearmonger and fearmonger to the point you just go, Trump, And they yelled, they screamed, they shouted. It goes, Jeff, I'm telling you, they're like mad men and mad women. It's like they're mad. And let me just give you an example, and I promise I'll go right back to the phone lines. This is Kamala Harris, drunk. She was, again, National Association of Black Journalists in Philadelphia, and they're asking her about Springfield, Ohio. And, of course, they're going on about the latest hoax, which is all these bomb threats. And apparently they're claiming, there were 33 bomb threats. They evacuated schools. They evacuated buildings. The kids are petrified. This is what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have unleashed. Their racism, their hatred, lying about eating cats and pets and geese and ducks. Now they're under siege. People are going to get killed. They're going to get blown up. Listen now to Kamala. She's a little bit out of it. She's had a little bit of the drinky. Roll cut 1A. Mike.
It's a crying shame. I mean, my heart breaks for this community. You know, there were children, elementary school children, who it was school photo day. You remember what that's like? Going to school on picture day? Who were dressed up in their best, got all ready, knew what they were going to wear the night before, and had to be evacuated. Children. A whole community put in fear.
And you see how slow she's talking? Huh? Well, it doesn't seem like she's fully there. Now, Sandy made a good point. She goes, Jeff, it may not be drinky. It could be cold medicine, like me. Although I don't seem to be as out of it as she is, but let that go. Oh, man, do I have a head cold. But anyway, let that go. But anyway, so maybe she's taking some kind of cough medicine or whatever, and it does have does make you a little drowsy. But Now, the point is this. Again, look at the fear-mongering. The kids are being terrorized over racism, over lies. Listen now to Ohio's rhino governor. He's no friend to Donald Trump, believe me, Mike DeWine. Listen now to what he said about all 33 of those so-called bomb threats. Listen now to this, okay? Listen to this. Again, another hoax. All of them hoaxes. Roll cut 2, Mike.
At least 33 separate bomb threats, each one of which has been responded to, and each one of whom has been found as a hoax. So 33 threats, 33 hoax. I want to make that very, very clear. None of these had any validity at all.
In other words, it wasn't Springfield residents, or forget Springfield, Ohio residents. Okay, no, forget that. Midwest residents. No, forget that. American residents. Okay, not one American resident anywhere in the United States. And I'm including Alaska, and I'm including Hawaii. None of them. It came from another country. None of them were issuing bomb threats. Listen to Mike DeWine. Roll cut 2A, Mike.
So I want to say to the parents in Springfield, these hoaxes, these threats have all been hoaxes. None of them have panned out. We have people, unfortunately, overseas who are taking these actions. Some of them are coming from one particular country. We think that this is, one more opportunity to mess with the United States, and they're continuing to do that. So we cannot let the bad guys win. Our schools must remain open.
Of course they must remain open. But the point is, again, the media has been caught lying. Dana Bash confronting J.D. Vance, saying, aren't you ashamed of yourself? He's like, why should I be ashamed of myself? Well, there's bomb threats all over Springfield. Oh, my God, they're evacuating the children. They're going to blow up schools. And Vance, to his credit, said, this is propaganda. You've not shown any evidence, A, that those threats are real, or they have anything to do with me or with Donald Trump. It's in other words, this is what happens when you have a media that lies and lies and lies and keeps spewing lie after lie after lie. And so it gets to the point, really, you want to just go to the eye doctor's office and customers are coming in and you say the word Trump, you see the word Trump on your phone, something Donald Trump, and they're triggered. It's like, really, it's like a Pavlovian response. It's just like Trump, da, 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 and they start yelling and screaming and shouting. And this is a CIA psychological operation. That's what the media is doing. We've done it to many countries around the world where you psychologically condition them. That's what's now happening to at least less than half the country, but almost half the country. They're being conditioned, brainwashed, indoctrinated, propagandized, whatever word you want to term or whatever term or word you want to use, to irrationally hate this man. And try it. I'm telling you, try it as an experiment. Okay? Just when you meet a moonbat friend or a family member and say, just very calm, I don't want to argue with you. So I don't want an argument. Just give me facts. I want to hear your point of view. Give me specifics, give me evidence, give me facts, give me details. Why do you think he'll be a dictator? Like, what has he said he's going to do that's going to make him a dictator? And they're just going to yell and scream. I'm telling you, they're just going to pound the table, yell, shout, scream. You're like, no, please calm down. Please calm down. And just, what has he said what is he going to do that's going to be the second coming of Adolf Hitler? Can you please explain this to me? Where did he say he's going to cancel all upcoming elections? I don't want to argue. I just want to see your facts. They have none. That's the scariest thing of all. It is pure manipulation at the most primal, emotional, visceral level. Heather in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Heather, and welcome.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Heather?
Good. I just have kind of a question about the reparations or a comment. So with the reparations, can't you make the argument that some the illegals that they're letting in to replace us, can't you make the argument that some of these are being used as slaves as well? So how can they justify us paying reparations from like over 100 and almost 200 years ago when we have illegals in here that are being used as slaves, if you can make that argument?
No, I think it's a brilliant argument. Look, illegal immigration is a nice way of saying modern slavery. Really, seriously, that's what they are being brought in as modern slaves to work, to be used to vote. The children, many of them are being sexually trafficked. Women are being sexually trafficked. We have over 300,000 missing children. 300,000 missing children. And look, this P. Diddy thing, I don't like him. I don't like these celebrity Hollywood stories. But trust me when I tell you this, Heather, this has got political legs. What he's alleged to have done, that's exactly what many of these illegals have been claiming, and others who work on the border. That wealthy Americans bring in young children, young girls, young boys, and they are sexually trafficked and molested and enslaved by very powerful celebrities and very powerful politicians. And that's what we're seeing now. If 1/10 of what they say, what P. Diddy did, this man is a grotesque monster. But there's pictures of him with Obama. And by the way, Obama's saying you haven't gone to a party unless you've gone to a P. Diddy party. Taylor Swift partying with him. Jennifer Lopez partying with him. Powerful Democrats partying with him. So, yeah, it's modern day slavery. 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. This is a really good text from 781, a big supporter, big fan of the show, big friend of the show. And I think really, please just listen to this. 10 seconds hits the nail right on the head. 781. Jeff, Kamala is the perfect candidate for Barack Obama's presidency. She's better than Biden because not only is she obedient, but she will say whatever she is told to say. She's also more articulate than Biden, but just as stupid. In other words, she can be controlled. There you go. That's why she's there. She's their perfect puppet. Claire in Littleton. Thanks for holding, Claire, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thank
Hi,
you
Claire.
for taking the call.
My pleasure.
I've been wanting to call for a while about this particular subject. We are starting to see a lot of Harris signs in Littleton. A friend of mine has also seen a lot of signs in Lunenburg, and another friend of mine has seen tons of Harris signs up in Wolfboro, New Hampshire. So this is a great concern of mine, and my effort has been to try to educate people. I'm very involved in explaining to people in a logical way the consequences of Harris's policies. They won't listen. They start screaming, like you said, they start screaming, "You're lying, it's not true." And everything that I've told them is factual. What's going to happen to the stock market, what's going to happen to the housing market. We're not going to have a country left. Add in the crime, and they're in total denial. So it's one of two issues. They're either low information voters. They have no idea. They don't listen to the proper news sources. Or number two, they're lifelong Democrats, and they will vote the party line no matter what. You can't get through to these people. It's impossible. I've tried. And, I hate to give up, but their minds are closed, their ears shut down, and there is no way to get through. So we have a big block of voters. They're going to vote for Harris no matter what.
Oh, you're completely correct. No, yeah, I'm listening to every word. I'm actually enthralled. Really, I'm listening to absolutely every, because I can't tell you, in my mind, I think of this person, that discussion, that debate. I can't tell you, your experience has been my experience. No, look, Claire, I'm going to ask you a very serious question. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but really it's very serious. Would you ever argue with a wall? Would you have a discussion with a wall, try to convince a wall? Would you ever stand in front of a wall and just give it facts and figures? Would you ever do that?
Exactly what we're dealing with, but I have to try. And some of my friends have said, give up, and I can't. I have to keep trying. We can't give up.
No, I understand. But Claire, look, this is my recommendation. Go for undecided voters. Go for voters that are still leaning one way or the other. In other words, they're still persuadable. But if you're going to go to a liberal or a moonbat, it's like arguing with a wall. It's like arguing with Bill in Sudbury. And look, I'm going to really use the proper analogy. It's like arguing with a full-fledged communist or Nazi. It really is. It's their God. It's their religion. It's their everything. They don't want to see the truth. They don't. And even if everything craters on top of them, they still don't want to see it. So it's very frustrating for you because, you see, you're making the key mistake most Americans make. You think everyone is rational like you. Most people are not, or not most, many people are not rational. They're just not. And so, look, all you got to do is ask them, do you believe in reparations? Because Kamala does. Are you willing to pay $100,000 to $150,000 to $200,000 for slavery that took place, 150 plus years ago? Do you support price controls for food? Because that's what she says, food production. Do you support giving amnesty to every illegal alien, plus free health insurance, plus free education, plus free college? Do you support that? Because that's her platform. Now, if they say yes, yes, and yes, then you're dealing with it's like dealing really, like at the beer hall in Munich. You're dealing with Nazis. You're dealing with crazies. Or, the supporters of Stalin. Just forget it. I mean, they're not going to penetrate that mind. But if you say that to an undecided, to an independent, to someone who's still on the fence, is leaning one way or the other, that will persuade them. But otherwise, really, I'm telling you, I have family members like this. It's like arguing, really, with a wall. It's pointless. You're wasting your time. I'm not saying don't persuade people. I'm saying go where people are persuadable. But a liberal and a moonbat, Claire, you might as well forget about it.
I've tried using that argument. What do you think about this? Her policy about this and her policy about that. You know what their answer is? You're lying. She doesn't believe that. And I say to them, have you seen food prices? No, food prices have not gone up. This is what I'm dealing with.
Oh, I know. I have look, she's a nice lady. I don't want to put her down, but she's one of our neighbors. I know I don't want to get too descriptive here because people know her in my area. She said the same thing to me. She goes, my food hasn't gone up. I go, where the hell do you shop? She goes, no, my gas hasn't gone up. My utility bill hasn't gone up. My grocery bill hasn't gone up. My food, nothing has gone up. I'm like, what planet are you living on? So of course it's gone up. They don't want to accept reality. That's what you're dealing with. Look, really, liberalism is a mental disorder. It's a disorder. You're dealing with mentally ill people. I gotta go. Bye-bye.